Hey, my name is Angela. I'm a holistic registered dietitian, nutritionist, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about my personal story with IBS, or inflammatory bowel disease. And so if you want to find out, then let's get started. My story with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, began a very long time ago, but the main components or the main symptoms that I had with it were with painful diarrhea. And I'm talking about very sharp shooting pain and diarrhea. And whether it was loose or watery diarrhea, there was a lot of different combinations. Sometimes with the diarrhea, it was not always the same. And when I had a bowel movement, it was not always the same either. When I had these painful diarrheas, there was not like I had them every day or every week or every month, but they were so totally random and I couldn't figure it out. I'm a dietitian, and so I love to use food as the first go-to of trying to help restore my digestive system. With IBS, it could be multiple different symptoms. It could be with constipation, bloating, it could be a combination of back and forth. And so I remember I had been researching about the FODMAP diet, and because it had just come out from Monash University, they were the pioneers behind the diet itself. And we were at the beach one day. So my breaking point came when I was on a family vacation at the beach, and I was like, had to run to the bathroom, and I had another episode, and it's so painful that you can't do anything. You just want it to be over with. And I knew I was going to feel better once it was done, once it was over, but I couldn't do anything until it was done. Like, your life is just put on pause, it's put on hold until this is done. And then even afterwards, I know I was going to feel better, but sometimes I just needed to lay down afterwards until, you just went through a huge episode and you needed to kind of recover a little bit. But so I always felt better after I had a bowel movement. And so that was the biggest symptom that I had gone under. And so I got to that point in the bathroom and was like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. I'm going to go on this diet. I'm going to try and see how it goes. And so I remember going to eat out when I was at the beach with my mom, with my sister. We were in Charleston, South Carolina, and we were eating at a beautiful restaurant beside the water. And what do they bring out? They bring out bread. And a part of the FODMAP diet is avoiding gluten. And I was just like, like, I can't have this. But that pain is stuck in my memory, and I knew I was going to try to stick to this diet and see how it worked. So I was definitely very proud of myself. That's probably why I vividly remember sitting there and just been like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. And so during that beach time that week, a miracle had happened. And after 2 to 3 days, I had the opposite happen to me. I had constipation, and I just remember an overwhelming anxiety came over me because it was fear of, I didn't have a bowel movement for like 2 or 3 days. I have a bowel movement every day, because I know that's a sign of a good, healthy digestive system, is a bowel movement, even though previously I wasn't having good bowel movements, but I was having one. And so even though it wasn't normal, like a dog's tail or like a sausage, just the fear of what could happen when you're constipated, could cause another issue. And so I didn't want to have that problem. So I remember going to the bathroom and was like, I hadn't had a bowel movement in like 2 or 3 days, and was in total shock at how well the diet that I was doing worked. But also I was very fearful at the same time. I you know, was like, okay, let me just stop the diet. Let me just put it on hold. You know, I need to have a bowel movement. You know, that's like I said, a sign of a good digestive system. And what I did was decided to, okay, still eliminate gluten and dairy. Let me just not fully go off of it because I know that was a painful story. But let me just continue to see how I do without, you know, having the vegetables in there and the beans back in and the fruits back in, but keeping out the gluten and dairy. And then I was actually able to have a bowel movement. And so over the next few years, a couple years, I was testing out the waters, was seeing how I was doing with fruits, vegetables, beans, how I did tolerating those, and I kept out dairy and gluten out of my diet. And during this time, during this period, I was also taking probiotics. That was a big help to rebalance my digestive system, to help heal it. And so I had gotten to finally the point where I was not having any issues. It took a little while for that to happen. It was not a quick fix to finally be relieved. I did have issues where, you know, sometimes I would, you know, might have some gluten in there and then have issues and know that I was having problems with it. And so during that couple of years, I was also testing with gluten and seeing how I was doing it after I knew I could tolerate the fruits, the vegetables, and the beans. A little bit, you know, at a time, I started to add back in sprouted grains with sprouted grain flours or regular sprouted grain sandwich breads, because those are definitely a lot easier to digest. Sourdough was another one that's a lot easier to digest on the system. So I was testing out, adding back in really easy to digest type sources, and then kind of working my way up to making things with like whole wheat pastry flour or white whole wheat flour. And then eventually, you know, after kind of tolerating those, then seeing how I do with regular like white flour. And I found out that I do better when something's made at home, if it's made with white flour, than if I eat something out somewhere. Then I started testing out with dairy, and dairy definitely still did not sit well. I do well with small amounts of it, and then I just preferred just to leave it out. I feel better now without it. I don't necessarily need it. You don't have to have dairy. It's not a necessity requirement for life. You know, if I go over to someone's house and they have like cheese on something, if you're eating a meal at someone's house, or I go out to a restaurant and they put cheese or, you know, or has dairy in it, I don't necessarily make a fuss over it. I can tolerate some dairy and be fine. But like I said, overall, I just feel better without having it. And so I just don't eat it. But not the same with gluten. Gluten I've added back in, not in large quantities or anything, but definitely eating gluten in its whole form is better tolerated than any type of white processed type gluten. And that definitely came to forefront last year when I was trying some tortillas that from our favorite Mexican restaurant that we love to eat at very frequently. And I had done well with them, you know, tortillas a couple of times. And then there was just one time I was just like, nope, not doing well. So I was like, okay, that's an easy switch. I just switch over to corn instead of the flour. And I've been doing well ever since. And that was just that one episode I had last year with not tolerating something, but it wasn't the same. I didn't have the same response to it like I did in the past with that very painful diarrheal episode. I remember even trying to add back in gluten at some point a few years ago and was not doing well with it and would just topple over in pain from it. But now I am doing just fine with amounts that I do eat. I haven't had any kind of issues with it. And like I said, probiotics have been another big help with my digestive system. Other people that I talk to who have done the FODMAP, you know, have had different results. Everybody definitely varies. Mine was a little bit more longer stint of trying to add back in foods because it's not a true allergy, so you don't necessarily need to eliminate it altogether. But some people, it just may be a couple of months that they can figure out what's really bothering them and being able to move forward. And so everybody's different that I've talked to who have utilized this diet. I just wanted to give you what my story was like with it and how I am now, and why that's why I definitely love learning about the digestive system, why it's very important to me for people to have a good digestive system and good bowel movement, because it's a huge part and it can affect a lot of other areas of your health. I also have a pescatarian meal plan that's low FODMAP, and so it doesn't have any dairy, it doesn't have any gluten in it, but it does include a pescatarian, so it'll include eggs, it'll include fish. If those are types of foods that you're eating, those can be easily swapped out with some other things if you're looking at a meatless type items. And so I will leave that link, that meal plan, to that. If you want to take a look at it, it will be in the description box. It's also on my website at dietitianangela.com. If you want to know a little bit more, feel free to comment below, or we can definitely connect later. I am a registered dietitian. If you want to try this out for yourself, I'm not necessarily your personal dietitian, so please connect with your dietitian in your local area about doing this, because there's a little bit more to it than kind of what I have gone over. I hope this really encourages you, inspires you to, there is definitely a little bit more hope out there for if you have digestive issues. All right, please like, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope you guys have a happy, healthy day. Bye.